everybody, welcome to A.K.A. Diaries. I'm Cassara, and today I'm going to be telling you my story of being 15 and pregnant. And if you're a subscriber, thank you so much, and if you're not, make sure you hit that subscribe button for future videos. Hey guys, Cassara again, and today, like I said, I'm going to be telling you my story of being 15 and pregnant, and we're going to jump right into it right now. So, I had just turned 15, and I remember living at the time in a one-bedroom apartment with my mom and my stepdad, and at the time, they were both on drugs, crack cocaine specifically. We had just a futon in the living room, a futon mattress in the bedroom where I slept, and my clothes were like folded on the floor or something. And I remember I rode like 2 to 3 miles on my bike every day, every morning, to my under the table job that I only made $80 a week at to support myself. And I know not the best living situations for a baby, but that's the circumstances that I was in at the time. My boyfriend was in a juvenile place because he couldn't stop stealing, so I really only got to see him on the weekends. So it was a really rough time for me being by myself pretty much because my mom and my stepdad didn't really pay attention to me. So that's kind of where it all started. I remember one day I was having a lot of horrible stomach pains, and I had remembered that I hadn't had my period in a while, so I put 2 and 2 together and was like, well, hey, I'm going to go get a pregnancy test. So I went to get the cheapest pregnancy test at Dollar Tree, which was $1, and yes, those actually do work because that's how I found out I was pregnant. The moment I found out I was pregnant, I didn't really know what I was feeling at the time. I was young, I was in puppy love, so I was kind of happy, kind of sad, but the most hurtful part was that I knew my mom wouldn't really care, but she would try to make me abort it. And the reason why I say that is because a couple of days before I found out I was pregnant, my stepdad went to jail, and we got kicked out of our one-bedroom apartment by some marshals. So my stepdad had told me and my mom to go stay with his friend's girlfriend, which they were people we didn't know who they were, and my mom was just like, okay, let's go. And they ended up having a daughter who was like 14, and she already had a 6-month-old baby. So I remember distinctly my mom saying to me, if you ever have a child this young, I'm going to make you have an abortion, and the hospital ain't going to be the one to do it. So yeah, I was kind of really scared to tell my mom and stuff. But then it just so happened that she ended up getting arrested too. So here I am, 15 years old, pregnant. My A.K.A. baby daddy is not around because he's in a kind of lockup place, and I only got to see him on the weekends. And here I am staying with people that I barely even know. My mom's in lockup, my stepdad's in lockup, and I'm 15 years old and pregnant. So my grandparents lived in Pittsburgh, which is like 6 hours away from Rochester, New York. So my grandmother, I knew that if I told her that I was pregnant, she would not let my mom intervene. She wasn't upset, she was more disappointed, but she was totally against abortion, so I knew that she would talk my mom out of it. And I wasn't going to have an abortion because I'm not going to kill a baby just because I'm 15 and pregnant. I chose to lay down and open my legs, and I knew the consequences, and this is what happened. A day passed by, and my mom ended up calling me from jail, and I told her that, hey, I'm pregnant. Not in that way, but I did tell her, and she started crying on the phone, and she was like, you're not having this baby, you're not having this baby. And I told her that I already told grandma that I'm pregnant, and they all know. And she got kind of upset and was like, oh, you think you're slick, going behind my back, telling them, you're supposed to tell me. But in my mind, I was like, it wouldn't have really mattered if I told you because you didn't really care what I was doing at the time. You guys would leave me at home for days on end with no food, no money, by myself, 14, 15 years old, because you guys are out doing drugs. And it's not their fault that I got put in this situation, but maybe if I had a little bit more adulting around me, it wouldn't have ended up like that. After I had told her, my stepdad ended up getting out of jail, and he came over and he was like, hey, a guy I was in jail with had a friend who was a landlord and owns this house and said he'll let us rent it if we fix it up while we're living there. So I was like, okay, yeah, I don't got to live with people I don't know anymore, and we can finally have our own house. So he took me to see the house, and at this time I was about 3 months pregnant, and the house was horrible. It was boarded up. There was dirty leaves and trash all over the yard. And when we went inside, there was leaves and garbage and everything everywhere, broken glass. And these were the conditions that we were going to be living in while he cleaned it up and fixed it up. And I just remember thinking, I can't have a baby in this house. I need to do something. This is not the life I want my child to have. I don't want them to have the life that I had. So fast forward a little bit, my mom ended up getting released from jail, and they made her go into a 30-day inpatient. And CPS was involved at the time, so they told her these were the conditions because me and my unborn child were in fear of being taken into foster care. So she had to do this or we would go away. And all I kept thinking was, I don't really think that she's going to do it because she doesn't really care. So I'm going to go into foster care either way, me and my baby. And they might take my baby because they think I'm too young. But CPS helped a lot with a lot of things when she went into inpatient. And I think the most nervous thing I had at the time was starting to go to school and being pregnant, because I was going to be around girls my age that were like in cheerleading and had boyfriends and going to the movies and all this stuff. And here I am, a pregnant girl, being in school and surrounded by them. So it was kind of nervous, kind of rattling to my brain. I didn't really know how to take it. But thank God CPS was involved because they put me in a program for young mothers. So I went to a school that was nothing but young mothers, my age, a little younger, older, whichever, and that's where I was. And I did a lot in that school, and it was amazing. They helped me out a lot. They hooked me up with resources and so on and so forth. Then my mom ended up getting out of jail, or out of inpatient, and she came home, and she was clean for a little bit, and the house was coming together, and things were going along nice. My grandmother came up from Pittsburgh and stayed with me for a month while I was pregnant, and she helped me, and I was my grandparents' baby, so they wouldn't ever let me alone. But they didn't really know the circumstances that was really going on. They knew about the drugs and everything, but it was just hard to deal with it and tell them exactly, because there's a lot more to the part of the drugs in that, which I'll get into another video. But it was really hard. It was also hard for me being pregnant because my boyfriend, again, like I said, was in a lockup. So he couldn't go to the appointments with me. He couldn't go with me when we found out what we were having. And by the way, we were having a boy. But he couldn't find out or anything like that. So it was really difficult. And there came a time where he seemed like he was so excited to have the baby, but I knew that he still wanted to live his life. His family definitely wasn't excited. Me and his sister got into a couple arguments over it a few times. It was just hard. It was rough. And going out in public and being pregnant and watching people look at me disgusted because I was so young and all that. But one thing I knew was that I was determined not to walk in my mom's footsteps and to make my child's life better than what I had, what I was going through, and what was going on. So I was due May 16th, but I ended up having my son Joshua on May 21st. He is now 13 years old. He will be 14 in about a month, and he is the most amazing son ever. He is on a track team, and he is doing so well. He's taller than me, and it's crazy because he looks older than I look. And if you guys are wondering, I'm 29, and I am now married with 3 kids. Joshua, who's 13, Ariana, who's 10, and Natalia, who's 5. Now my life is a lot better. There's a whole bunch more to my 15 and pregnant story, but right now I just wanted to let you guys know how I found out I was pregnant, the situation I was in when I was pregnant. I'm going to do a video on my horrible birthing story, 43 hours of labor that ended up in an emergency C-section, and we ended up staying in the hospital for a long time after because we were in intensive care unit. So if you want to keep watching, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. That video will come out soon. In the comments, let me know your story if you're a teen mom. I'll let you know the struggles I went through. It was very, very, very hard. I do not condone being a teen mom. It's a lot of work. It's not like you see on TV. It's not Teen Mom OG or not MTV Teen Mom. It's hard, especially when you grow up in situations like I have and you don't have support or nobody to back you up. It is very hard. Thank God he put me in those situations because it made me stronger. It made me the independent woman that I am. And now I'm happy. I'm not rich by any means, but I'm rich in happiness with my husband and my kids. And that's all that really matters to me. Stay tuned. I will be getting into more of my story of being 15 and pregnant, and how I had a second baby at 19 with an abusive man, and more of my life story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please ask questions, whatever. I will answer them, whatever you guys need. I got you guys. I love you guys. And thank you so much for watching.